Hi, before this video begins, I want to say that I did get a microphone. Yes, I did get a microphone. So I don't get Reddit comments like this. Okay, I got one off Amazon. It was broken. I returned it. And I'm using one of these Apple EarPod microphones. And they actually do sound very good. And another thing, all the music in this video will be made by me. So if you like the music that you're hearing in the background, I do recommend checking out my music on streaming service. Okay, on to the actual video. Before this, now, we're talking about gen loss, or low fidelity, or just failure in music. Now, before I go on, I'm gonna say this. This is not the concrete way. This is not the you have to do it this way type of video. There are other ways you could get off the same effects. This will be going over more plugins and special made devices for this. So talking about more physical things, but this will be going over stuff for more of, or just a general point of view for really any genre. This won't be going. So, yeah. The first effect I'm going to go over is pitch modulation. Basically, anything to do with pitch. Mostly you would think of something like a vibrato pedal, like the Pulse VB2, which I'm going to talk about shortly. But another way of pitch modulation would be something like a broken tape player, like tape wow and tape tape wow and tape flutter. Those are other forms of pitch modulation, and mostly when I show my dad music that I made with pitch modulation, my dad is like, it sounds like a broken tape machine, and that's the point, because aesthetically, I like that slight imperfection in pitch. It gives it a much more real, feel to the music. A good plugin that does this very well would be something like Chow's Tape Modeler. It sounds phenomenal, and it's free and open source, and I'll probably leave a link in the description. Yeah. This is the Boss VB2. This is a vibrato pedal, and if you want your nice warbly sounds for stuff like Mac DeMarco covers and just that nice cozy sound, this is a very good sounding effects unit for this sound. Now this has a very sturdy, very cyclical, meaning it's going in cycles, waveform to predict the vibrato. It's not random, it's not like a shallow water or a super convincing tape wow, more of a convincing tape wow than a tape flutter. Now this is a analog effect unit, and it's a very limited controls, and that's why I really like it. It has a very particular sound. It has this nice woozy kind of vibrato. Here in the background, I'm running a ukulele through it. And Ben, please do the music justice in the background of this video. It has a few effects pedal controls, and it has, wait upside down, rate, depth, and the rise time, and it has a momentary switch, and like what kind of mode you want it in. This has a very secular waveform, and if you're into it has a very nice tape wow sound, especially at lower settings, and it's a on purpose failure. Whenever I show my dad any of my music that contains warble, my dad is like, Ben, it sounds like a broken tape player. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. I like that sound. I personally find that sound aesthetically pleasing to my ears. Now, there are plugins that do this sound very well. I think Chow's Tape Mod is a very well done and free and open source plugin that gets this kind of warbly vibrato a bit more realistically and sounds something like a shallow water without the envelope filter. And it's a I'll leave a link to it because if you just make music and you like that sound, if you don't want to shell out the money for something like this and you want more of a realistic sound, I recommend using that plugin. Now, let's also talk about another type of failure. Like physical. This is a tape loop. If you don't know what these are, you should, because if you've ever been on Instagram and you've been into the experimental ambient sector, you know what this is. You've definitely heard of this. You've definitely heard the sounds of a tape loop. If you don't know what I'm talking about, think artists like Heimbach, Blank for MS. It's actually Blank Forms, but I never pronounce it that way. Or even ambient artists like Amulets, William Dushinsky, or even the Humblebee. Like, actually, go listen to the Humblebee. It is great ambience. Go listen to a miscellaneous for the quiet hours. Great ambient album. It is great for a gray, cloudy Sunday like today. Tape loops, were invented around in the 1940s. Not like this. This isn't a cassette tape format. And all it does is, well, it takes a tape and loops it around. Now, there's digital loopers, but the main thing with tape loops is that it has, every single one has its own characteristic flaws. They all sound slightly different. They all sound really slightly flawed if you're not really good at making them. If you're just good at making them, like I think about like 50 tape loops over there. They all have their own unique characteristics. You hear how each tape loop sounds on top of each other, and it sounds really good when you mix and match them, especially if you have multiple cassette players. Now, is there a good plugin for this? No. You have to use the physical thing. I know there's a mode on Blooper that gets pretty close where I tape disintegration sound. But if you want a tape loop sound, make tape loops. Yeah. The cassette players themselves are the pricey part. But you can go to like garage sales and get them, or thrift stores. In making these, there's a lot of great YouTube tutorials out there to make these. Music Concrete is what is the first real example of tape loops in music. Now, highly experimental artists like Pierre Chaffee are known for using tape loops. Now, obviously, they're not made with cassette tapes like this. These got popular in the 80s, and my mom has recorded a lot of the Smiths album on this. I mean, I love the Smiths, but they don't really sound that good on like 30-year-old cassettes, 40-year-old cassettes. Now, obviously, we're not talking about cassette tapes, we're talking about reel-to-reels. Reel-to-reels are, well, let me just show you an image. A reel-to-reel is a type of tape player, the big ones you use in studios. Now, people like Peter Chaffee were like, hey, I like this, but let's manipulate the tape. Slowing it down, speeding it up, running the tape through the player. And he was like, hey. Now, obviously, he wasn't the one to invent it, but I'm just using him because that's the only Music Concrete composer I can think of off the top of my head. That used tape loops. He was like, hey, what if we took a tape and looped it around itself? Isn't that amazing? Okay, that's how it was made. Now, the more famous uses of tape loops would be the mellotron. If you've listened to the Beatles. When it comes to glitching, glitching is a very digital effect, and you know it exactly what it sounds like. You can kind of hear it in the background music. Glitching is probably the hardest to do, but in my opinion, I think when done right, it works really well. This is the Pastel Microgranny. It is a granular synthesizer. That's not really a granular synthesizer, but a sample mangler. And when used right, it can create this kind of glitching where the start and end points kind of loop together to create this broken but nice sounding feel. Mainly glitching when I think of would be something like a CD player. Now, like a CD player skipping. Glitching is like effects. Could also be something like the pops and cuts in micronotes. That is really small samples. Popping and cutting to create percussion. That's another way. You can kind of hear that in the background music too, to create another form of glitching. When a CD skips, sometimes it might be a pop. That's normally with computers, how it is. Now, glitching on its own is not easy to do, but it works well with other effects. If you have glitching mixed with vibrato, mixed with the tape loops, it works well to create this thing, a sound, a nice air raid sound. Glitching is not very common in music because it is hard to do correctly and sometimes creates this harsh sound. All I think of is something like a CD player skipping. That's all I really have to say for glitch. I am very tired and I'm like 3.5 hours into making this video. Oh, I forgot one last thing. Overdrive, distortion. Okay, yeah, those are technically failures. Fuzz, you know where that came from? A broken channel strip. And guess what? Fuzz is a broken effect. Overdrive is basically when you fail to mix your levels correctly and you overdrive whatever you're doing. You can overdrive tape, you can overdrive a mixer, and I've done that, and that kind of overdrive sounds pretty good. And then there's stuff like Octane, which takes the failures of overdrive fuzz and turns those up to 11. I just want to talk about that real quick because when I came down to pet my dog, I just remembered about that. Artists that use it, literally any artist you've ever heard using overdrive or fuzz pedal before.